Hey Neil,
Hello, hello.
long time since I've been here. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Very good to see you. How you been?
Yeah, been good. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's great. Will, nice to see you too. Manoj, nice to see you.
Hello, how's it going?
Hey, but I turned down my speaker. Oh, nice. James note takers coming in here too. We even got AI on board in here. AI is interested in this conversation. Getting the robots to help out here. This is awesome. I guess I'll just wait a couple minutes to see who else joins in. I love that everyone just came piling in here right away. I love that. Love that level of commitment and energy. It's great. I have been uh, in motion since the beginning of the year, and I'm happy to kind of finally be back in my own studio after what feels like forever. I'm back to kicking it in these Prosperous Coach sessions. Um, Maybe what we should do while we're just waiting here, has anybody got anything? Has anybody been reading any more of the Prosperous Coach? Have they been reviewing any of the videos, or is there any kind of uh thoughts they'd like to bring to the session? Anything about the prompt that we had before? Maybe let's narrow in on that. Did anybody read the prompt from the email? Nice. Any insights about that? It's kind of a challenging prompt. No problem. Okay, maybe I will dive in here, or maybe what I'll do too is just reread the prompt so that we're all on the same page here.
Yeah, that's where I was going. I was going back to reread it.
Hmm It makes sense, right? It's like, what was that? Uh, so, what ways are you sidestepping the business of your work? Here's Layla. Hello, Layla. We're just talking about the prompt here. So, what ways are you sidestepping the business of your work in favor of a feel-good altruistic path? Is it really helping you and your clients, or is it a cop-out? Now, there's a difference. Sometimes altruism is really special and useful. Pro bono work is there for a reason. But it's also a great way to not work on your negotiation skills. It's a great way not to work on your money management skills. Kate, nice to see you. We're,
Sorry, I'm 2 minutes late, or maybe three. Sorry.
and we're jumping, everyone piled right in here, which is great. We're just discussing the prompt here. So if you want to check it out in the email, Will,
Sure.
I'd love to hear your what's your
Hello. Yeah. Um, I want to clarify that I'm getting the right end of the stick. Sidestepping the business in favor of a feel-good altruistic path. That sounds like it's referring quite heavily to the pro bono realm, or negating the financial needs of a business.
Yes, and also say like the difficult question of like this is how much these sessions are going to cost. Like this is how much I value myself. This like how much do you value yourself? Where is the intrinsic value between us? How do we put kind of like a symbol of money onto that? So just doing pro bono work kind of sidesteps some of those more difficult, really intimate conversations about money and resources and time and
Yeah,
value.
the floodgates have opened. Um, I can really, I can remember the feel good thing, where a couple of years ago, I'd call it like the pub coach vibe. I'd have really nice, really feel good useful conversations whilst getting pissed at the pub with friends. And I could walk away from the situation and I'd feel good. And I'm not saying that there wasn't service. I'm not saying that it wasn't useful and that doesn't have its place. It's that both and it certainly does have its place, but it can be easy, I think, and I think that probably I did. You can hoodwink yourself into I'm a coach. I'm coaching. It's like there's truth to a point, and then there's the threshold of, but you want to do this professionally. You want to have a practice that is sustainable, that reaches a point where you have disposable income, where you can reinvest back into the business. A great example of this is Nick Bettini, and working with him for the last 3 years and seeing the level up that Michele has brought. Nick's ability in treating what he does as a business and paying very close attention to the financial health of his practice has built it to the point where he can expand the team around it. And as a result, the level up is incredible. What Michele has brought in his energy, in his being, in his skill set, his know-how, that's what you stand to gain by not hoodwinking yourself. And yeah, for me, it's the both and thing that's coming up. It's like it's really important to know like casual conversations that serve, and being with friends when they need it, like that has its value and has its place. And if you want to cross the professional threshold, there's a few more moving parts to it, and you need to notice that the distinction.
I love that. And I want to add in there a great thing that Nick had said to me, because I was at a party and kind of went into this coaching mode with someone and they kind of crumbled because of it. Mostly, I think, because they weren't expecting that directive questioning about their business and their path and where they're going, because it was just like a Christmas party, right? And I asked Nick for some coaching around that, and he said a great way to kind of segue, like move into that realm, into kind of the world in between professional coaching and just having a good conversation with someone that might be powerful, is to say something like, this really makes me want to put on my coaching hat, like and then maybe give a little bit of context, like, oh, I work as a transformational coach. I work with a lot of people, kind of in this situation that we're talking about, and it really makes me want to put on my coaching hat and ask you a couple questions. Would that be something that you're interested in experiencing, that kind of conversation? And if they're like, yeah, I would, then you kind of have created a in-between context, and kind of can then, maybe if the conversation is powerful and useful, then say, would you like to have a professional conversation in this kind of situation? We can meet at another point and really create that environment together. And then so it's kind of like shifting over towards this professionalism. And I think the same thing is possible with other sectors. Like, Manoj, you work in the financial sector. I'm sure there's lots of times when people are speaking and it would be useful to have some financial information, but then just launching a bunch of financial information on them is they're just not going to be able to hear it because of the context of the conversation. But being like, hey, if I put on my financial hat here, I'm hearing some things that kind of come from this perspective. So it's just, I thought I'd throw that in there, because then you don't necessarily lose that. You can have that altruistic conversation. It could even go that way. The person could be like, nah, I don't really want that. That's too heavy for me right now. And then you can just have like a nice cathartic conversation where, you're having a couple of drinks and it gets a little spilly and everyone puts their heart on their sleeve, kind of thing. Like, without the danger of the coaching edge or going the other way, So I thought I'd just kind of toss that out there.
may I speak to that quickly before we move on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pointed to a really, really important um, framework that a coaching relationship exists in, and it's seeking permission
Hmm.
and always checking in with yourself. What level of permission do I have with the person I'm speaking to? And that's the you can't push a string thing. I've had my own version of that Christmas party kind of vibe where I maybe it's not explicitly been said, but I've got a bit too enthusiastic and gone in and felt the kind of pull back and close up of someone. I'm like, man, you didn't slow down and you didn't reflect on the level of permission that you have with this person. How much is this person going to let you in? Um, and I think a great coach has great respect for the sacredness of the framework that a coaching relationship exists in. So, like you said, you don't have to, if you're in a situation where it's maybe a bit more of a casual setting, you don't have to pull out the client agreement document and go, oh yeah, before we continue, can you have a read of all of this and inform, but simply checking the permission. That's enough to contain and put a framework around something. And then, as you say, it could lead. It could, if the relationship is growing in the professional direction, then some more agreements can be formed, and it's just contained nicely, and there's permission there. Um, I just wanted to underline that because that's a massive thing that you pointed to there.
Yeah, I found it really helpful, especially because then it goes from, especially if you kind of say, "Oh, I'm going to put this hat on," or "I'm coming from this place," and then you just don't seem like some random guy asking really fierce questions, out of nowhere. The person's like, "Oh, I see you're trained in this. Okay, I got that. Okay, do I want that service right now or do I not?" So you build context, and whereas I had lacked that building of context before, and it's so powerful when you do. It's power. They have a powerful image of you. You might even see a different part of them suddenly jump to the forefront, like they've been looking for this and they didn't know it. Like it's just creates a different. You become different people. The relationship changes. Um, just before we go on, Aiden, did you want to say something about that before we?
Yeah, it was just a very quick comment. So I've been listening to this audiobook that Devin recommended from Jen Sincero. You Are a Badass. She did that book, and this is her follow-up, You Are a Badass, at Making Money. And so I just started listening to it, and she was just talking about the power of words. And I have a coworker at the pub that I work at, and she's constantly talking about, oh, I'm so useless. I'm so incapable. I'm such a twit or whatever. And it just came to me as I was listening to this audiobook that I wanted to like take her aside and just be like, look, like I'm a coach, but ask permission, but just be like, look, like you got to understand the power of your words right now. Like stop putting yourself down. You don't need to believe that about yourself. So, but I was thinking like, oh, how would I approach that? Because I'm usually just like kind of placating and trying not to be like, oh yeah, you're such a twit, just to be like, no, like be easy on yourself. But I actually am starting to feel like if I keep hearing her talk like that, I'm gonna feel like I want to say something and step in, and yet, okay, like I don't want to overstep my bounds. How do I approach the situation? Okay, can I say something? Can I preface it in a way? Ask permission, because I mean, it's not like a whole coaching session or anything, but it's just a sort of like, hey, can I give you can I make a suggestion? That's the I think how I would probably frame it. Hey, can I make a suggestion about the way that you're saying talking about yourself? So anyway, that was just something that's kind of come alive for me in just the past hour. I was thinking about. I'd like to have a chat with her about that and see if I can help her out a little bit. I realized, I wondered exactly. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and I want to emphasize the more that you reveal yourself in that place, the more people will understand, they get a grasp. Otherwise, you just seem like, a coworker. Like, oh, my coworker said these nice things to me, or my coworker really had some interesting questions for me, which is different than this guy I work with who is a coach on the side told me that as a coach, he would say these things to me that just completely shifts how
Yeah.
they perceive you. Jane, thanks for for letting Aiden slide in there. I'd love to hear what you're thinking
And
about.
I think what I was going to say is slightly different, but just thinking of the conversation that we've just had, really took me back to the very first enrollment, because the person I enrolled first was somebody that when I was a head teacher, we used to go walking every Sunday morning, and it moved into the coaching dialogue because that's where she wanted it to go. And moving that from we just go walking every Sunday morning into that professional relationship was a really interesting kind of shift, both in my head, and I think I played with how am I going to do this with my coach, but for quite a while, because it's kind of like I've been doing this for years, but now it's my business. And that then links into the big thing that I spotted in myself, and it was not long ago actually. It was from reading the spin-off of this book, the Living Service, How to Be a Prosperous Coach. And I spotted in there that this thing about, well, it's that it feels good, doesn't it, to support somebody, and then that conversation about money is quite challenging, and then there was this bit about, but it has to serve you. And that was the really big eye-opener. This isn't serving me. And then I looked at how have I defined service. You know, I was in education. I was essentially serving for 28 years. And I expected to be paid for that. And I didn't have a problem with being paid for that. But I'd kind of brought this idea that what you meant by service was you do stuff for free and then people ask to pay you. That I realized that's what was in my head. And it's kind of like that's a real cop out, because it's like I don't have to have this conversation about worth, you know, your worth, my worth in this conversation, because they'll tell me. And of course, it doesn't work like that. The world doesn't work like that. So that's kind of what jumped out for me when with that question. It's kind of like that was quite a big shift for me to realize that A, I had the definition of service really skewed in my head, and B, I wasn't serving myself because I wasn't I wasn't allowing my worth to be brought into the relationships or their worth. Because, you know, when you pay for something, you show up in a different way, you commit to it differently.
I think that's so true, Jane, especially when you're talking about bringing your worth into the conversation and establishing it. That's such a difficult thing to do, because you're right. We want the world to tell us what our value is. We want the world to make a collective agreement about what we're worth, you know, and to push back against that and go, no, this is actually what I'm worth. I'm actually worth more than you realize, that you collectively realize, and I'm going to make that visible. It's such a different approach, right? And it takes strategy. Like it's not something you just wake up in the morning and go, now I know. Yeah, it's like, you know, it takes like time to formulate and see the distinction.
Yeah. And for me as well, it was kind of that imposter syndrome stuff kicking in as well. And if they tell me, then I don't have to worry about imposter syndrome because they've told me. But if I tell them, am I making it up? Will they find me out? You know, all of those sort of questions kind of pop into your head as well. That certainly was playing out a number of times.
I think I love that you revealed that, Jane, because I think that's the crux of the question right there, because then you have to develop. Like it's like your own coaching of your own business of coaching coaches you into being that powerful person who believes himself. Like, because you're not shying away from these conversations that are very intimate about value and worth and being visible and negotiation skills, slowing down like Will had talked about, because you want to just rush by the money thing. We want to rush by not feeling very valuable, you know, like all that kind of, let's just get to the work. Like, don't worry about how much it is. I just want to help you. Like, yeah, is that really helping you? Is that really helping both of us? Beautiful. Layla.
It's New Year's. Did we do that yet? Did I miss that part? Happy New Year's. Is it possible, Neil, for me to share my screen really quick?
Yeah, I should be able to do that.
Do I just like push the button? I'm gonna try pushing the button. No. Send request. I want to show you guys okay. Check this out, my friends. Look. Isn't that cool?
Nice.
I got sent this because I was having a conversation about this exact thing in a group I'm a part of with a bunch of birth workers. And this lady was like, "Have you seen this diagram?" And I love this. Emotions around money. So in terms of how this relates back, do you all want what I could do? Uh, I think I can just take this link and I'll give it to you. How about? And I can stop sharing.
Can you put it in the Hummingbird Society group?
Yes, and I'll put it in the chat for everyone for right now. Cool, Neil?
Yeah. You can share your screen for that, like if you have something you want to talk about with it, or you want us to.
Well, I guess I could.
If you have something you want to.
It's yeah. Well, okay, so I'll share it. Let's go back. Let's go back, everyone. So pro bono. Okay. So this is my feeling around pro bono is that when I think pro bono work, like I've done it before, and I have also said no before. And I've also had people approach me with pro bono um, requests and then looked at the situation like 100% yes to Jane and really like what is the worth, what is my worth here, and what are we both receiving out of this exchange? And come back to them and been like, well, I can do this part pro bono, but like I can't do this. Like, for example, I just got offered a woman runs two festivals, one in Alberta and one in British Columbia. And she asked me to come play music, and I'm included with a whole bunch of people. It's like a generic offer. And the offer is, oh, you get a ticket, you get to participate in the festival, and you get camping. And it's one of these things where, like, I'm like, cool. And I'm also really worthy of a bit of financial support here because travel is going to be something that I have to think about. And I also recognizing that like my name on the poster and my artistry is going to have people buy tickets. So there's some financial movement there that needs to be just kind of discussed. Um, so when we have this emotion around money, whether it's like the person offering the pro bono or the person on the side of receiving pro bono, um, pro bono is like the worst thing to say yes to ever. And you can feel it. Like you can feel it. I think why after many times, like I can feel it when it's coming from a place of this, like the person is feeling helpless, they're worried that they're not going to be able to afford you, they're discouraged by their own choices in life. I mean, the list can go on, right? They feel lousy about how they didn't take that one job, but now they need this service. So they're anxious about it and they're actually grieving their incapacity and then they're disappointed in them. Like literally, they could just be circling around in these thoughts and then be approaching you and being like, so can we do something? Can you just give me this for free? So that's one side of the relationship is the person asking for it. And then the other side is me. You know, there's been moments where a long time ago when I first started doing music where someone would say, hey, come do this show and do it for free. And I would be in this state. I would be thinking, confused about what I was supposed to, how I was supposed to value myself, feeling helpless and like maybe this is the only show that I'll ever get offered, you know, or like um, numb to it almost like, oh, is this just what everybody does? Okay. Or worried that maybe this person was never going to ask me for another show again. Or so this like when we do any kind of financial exchange, when one person in the exchange is coming from this place, it's not going to feel, it's not, it's, it doesn't work. When you're coming from this place, look at all those words. Like who is just saying, the power of Aiden, the power of words, right? And like the power of the language word. It's like words are totally thought are words. And when we so for example, the woman who's sent this festival offering out, she's really not this. She's not doing asking for pro bono because she's like this discouraged, anxious, angry, hateful person. She's doing it because she's determined. She wants to be able to support herself and her family. She wants to be generous in how she's creating this festival. She's feeling I'm hopeful that things that like look at all these fun words we can give to her that I could give to her. And then me too, I'm coming from this place too. So I quickly messaged her. I said, "Can we have a quick phone call?" She's like, "Sure." So I called her and she didn't pick up the phone. And then she calls me back. She says, "I'm about to go into a dance class. I didn't think you meant like right now. Like, why don't we like book something?" So I also wanted to say to touch on, and I just told her, this is going to take us 2 minutes tops. And she was surprised. She's like, and I could feel in her mind, it's like, but aren't we talking about money? Like, shouldn't this take like, isn't this a thing? So maybe she did have a little wee bit of anxiety over here creeping in. But I'm like holding over here. I'm like, no, this is just going to take a super easy conversation. I was like, and I straight up asked her, what feels good for you? She's like, well, maybe a bulk fee that could cover both festivals. And I was like, great. I'll look up a whole bunch of, I'll do my due diligence and figure out what I feel my worth is, what my actual expenses, real expenses are going to be, and I'll get back to you. She's like, oh, that sounds awesome. Okay. Bye. Conversation was over. So are parts of my service to her going to be pro bono? Like, am I going to have my fee be at the same rate that I would for an entirely for-profit festival? Uh, no, not in this case. Am I going to do it for free? No. Are we still having a conversation about how to make this go? Yes. And it's all because that's why I wanted to show you this picture. It's all because it's happening over here that we're even able to talk about what her needs are, what my needs are, what are the possibilities when it comes to money, what do we see as the valuable pieces that we either see in each other or in the experience or that we need covered. Yeah.
Super cool. That's awesome. That's fantastic. I love, for me, I'm such a color-based person too. So to see those two colors, like the words in there are important, but just seeing those two just kind of like modes of mood and color, and then what's kind of encapsulated by those things, and when you speak from those places, like from that color, how that's going to manifest those kinds of things around money.
Like
Like
one is literally stop, like red for stop, green for go.
yeah.
Even just that to me, is like just stop. Just don't. Like if all that shit is there, it doesn't matter honestly if it's pro bono or not pro bono or $1 million or $5. If there's all that crap there, just don't, because it's just not going to feel good. It doesn't matter what the number is or what the eventual agreement is. Blah. Stop. Go. Go over there. Green light. Go.
I love that. Will, did that spark something for you that you want to?
Yeah, I love that. And I'm noticing Layla and Jane, what you've pointed to is the symbiotic relationship between our self-concept and the money that we charge, or the financial value we place on the service we offer. I'll preface this. I have not invented this exercise. I did this with Nick last week, and it's fresh. It's not so much an exercise, it's kind of a visual thing. I'd love to share that. I think he's going to be going into this on this domino as well, which will be a massive addition. So it's a Venn diagram with three overlapping circles. One is the self-concept, one is the market, and the other is the fee. And as ever, the sweet spot is right in the middle where it all feels good. There's no rub. And the highest point of leverage is the self-concept, because that's who we're being. That's the greatest point of leverage. If you want to charge higher fees, it's like, who are you being? The example that Nick gave is like someone that goes in. It's quite a common thing coaches early on will do, is maybe go a bit too high too early before they've grown into those boots. They've grown into that self-concept and have the ability to have a conversation about, yeah, it's 10 grand to work with me for a year, and to hold the boundary, and for the person on the receiving end of that to feel that energy of like, yeah, there's no bullshit. Like they're not nervous talking about this. You can pick up on that energy of like, yeah, something about this just feels right. Versus, it's 10 grand. Is that all right? Well, that kind of, I've not grown into that self-concept. Those numbers scare me. I'm not at that stage yet. I'm not ready for that yet. And given what you were saying, Jane, that imposter thinking, Layla talking about sort of the I suppose the thinking that's going on in the minds of people as they're interacting over money. The thing that came up for me is that it's self-concept. How are you thinking about yourself? How enrolled are you in your business, in what you offer? How well do you know the impact you have? And you can tell when you talk with, it's one of the things you see grow in people. And not far behind that is, oh, their fees are going up. They're starting to charge more. Their programs are longer. They're starting to sell out every time. But the first thing you notice is the self-concept. It's like removing like you've got a waterfall, but there's a dam at the top of it, and you shift all of that shit out the way, and then the water flows, and how the market reacts and the fees you can charge, it all trickles, but the start is those internal shifts.
I love that. Will, it's such a truth, and it's I think a little bit of, for me, a little bit of a tweak in the language is like, it's like what, to me, it's like what you're not ready for is to reveal yourself to yourself, which I think is kind of what you're saying, right? Like you want to believe you have a certain level of value because, like you're saying, that's an easy place to hold yourself in. And it's like, if you reveal yourself to yourself too quickly, it can be a little scary. It can be you wonder if you can hold that level of energy or that level of lifestyle or mentality or yeah, I would say that's kind of the, like, because it's not outside yourself. It's not like something that you're going to become. It's what's always been in there. And it's that level of personal revealing. Like how willing are you to reveal that to yourself, and how quickly are you allowing yourself to reveal that? Like Nick, talking about Nick, he had a great thing where he said, how much transformation, how fast, like how much transformation can you actually bear in your life? Like how quickly would you allow yourself to shift into someone completely different than you are currently? You know, like how quickly would you allow yourself to go from being flat broke to a millionaire, and to go through the process involved in transmuting into that other person, and revealing that to yourself, right? Because you're the first person who has to know that. You're the first person who has to see that person. So I find that to be so true in what you're. Can you actually step into those boots of the inner person you truly are, and how fast are you willing to do it?
Can I quickly add as well? Because I think you're absolutely right. It is the subtractive process, the revealing, uh, the capacity is always there. And I think where, and this is speaking from experience, so I'm not going to assume that everyone has the same experience. What certainly helped me is that bit where the self-concept and the market overlap, and that bit in the middle where it's really important to notice the effect you're having on people. Notice, and so Nick will talk a lot about client stories, people stories, not telling people what you do with a microphone or a megaphone. It's like, well, this is what these people say. He did it recently with the videos. It's like, and the videos is a great thing because it's not just a written testimonial. You get a sense of the person. It's like, oh wow, yeah, you can really feel through the screen what's going on there. And sometimes that the playing modest mindset can start to work against you, where you're like, oh, I'm just doing my job. Oh, it's just what I do, rather than being like, yeah, fucking, I mean, you're amazing, and I am, and we co-created an incredible transformation, and we can both allow ourselves to take full ownership. The client takes ownership of their new being, and the coach takes ownership of like, yeah, I facilitate fucking incredible conversations. And it's that noticing and not batting away and yeah, I'm just oh, it's just what I do. That word just, oh, that's such a limiter.
I
Yeah.
love that, Will, and that, like, to play into this is so much gold. I can't we haven't even done the chapter yet. But to like dig into what you're saying, because it's so real. And this is from my own personal experience too, is how quickly are you willing to notice the impact that you create on people? And then how willing are you to see the depth of that impact? Like, because that seems to be for me in my business, and for my fees, and for what's occurred in the market and the transformation that I've had and helped other people have. That's the biggest thing. It's like sometimes I just am very, very slow, sluggish even, about noticing the impact that I have on other people, and then leveraging that impact to help more people. And you know what I mean? Like it's like, I like how you use the dam metaphor, because that's really what it is, and it's noticing the dam. Like, am I choosing unconsciously to just not notice the moments when I've had an impact, and then come from that place, and that's a yeah, that's a big thing, right? Because that's being consciously aware of your own life. Layla.
I want to, I would love to just add to what you're saying, Will, like with this moment that when you said I'm not ready, and then Neil, you're talking about like how fast we can transform, or like how quickly can we actually like just boom, we're all of a sudden this different creature. Um, I I want to share this little example. Um, so I've been working very hard on being a birth coach for traditional birth clients, so women who are choosing to birth outside the medical system. Um, I it feels like it's been a while, long time, and every time I get to the agreement making and the money talking, internally, I was from that image that I showed before, I was kind of over in the red place personally. And I would stumble around, and I realized something very key, that if so there's two parts to like, and I love what you said, Will, about like you're able to own, like the client is able to own the experience, and then you're able to also own like what you're doing, so like getting really clear on what that whole service is that you're providing to someone. And I was talking with a woman, and I had one conversation with her, and it felt really cool. And we booked another one for me to meet the husband, which is normally what I do normally. Um, and she got back, wow, she wrote me a message, wow, that was so great. Hey, by the way, we didn't talk about fees. What are they? And I had just had this experience before where I felt like if I was just being in the green world, I was like, I'm not really ready to talk about money. And it wasn't because I was afraid of it. It's because I didn't actually know if the person really understood what the money was frickin' valuing. And that's like my responsibility to make sure that the person's super clear about what they're agreeing to, what they see as the service, what they're committing to, what am I committing to. And in this previous experience, that the one before this just went to shit, like, and it didn't happen, and that's not a client, but like probably for the better. But I realized I don't actually have to reveal money talks until I feel like that person and I both are meeting at like what you just spoke to, Will, where we can both own and like be really stoked on what we're about to do. And I released this desire in me to I only want to spend one conversation with people. I released that desire, and I freaking got on the phone with her. I booked another call with her the next day. Immediately, I was like, oh, to be honest, I don't know that you know. I just said the things. I was like, I don't know that you know what I'm really giving yet. And I have some thoughts about what your understanding in you about what you want to commit. I don't know that you're ready to commit in this way, and that's really important for me. So, do you have time tomorrow? Let's have another conversation. So we get on the phone again. We're having a whole nother, and this shit is not like, it's not surface level. We're talking about birth. We're talking about the real fears of death, like straight up, the actual fear of death, the fear of baby death, the fear of what ifs, the challenges that our families might, like the thickness of what I get into with these women is freaking big. And so we're doing the whole full gamut of exploring. I'm exploring, does this woman really know what I'm going to give her? And then she's exploring, is this really what I want? you know? And we both are like dancing, and then I realized in me, I was like, you know what? Green light means go. We're both in the green light space. The emotions are ripe. Everything's feeling great. And she said, so what about the fee? And I said, well, and I did, you guys, I'll have this little group know, I did the Prosperous Coach formula of a proposal. I was like, these are your commitments. These are my commitments. This is what the fees are going to be, and I create your own adventures. So you have like these different options. I just spouted numbers that felt right. They felt like this woman's going to understand. I had thought about like, what is she really valuing compared to what I might value? Because we'd revealed all. I didn't hold back in the red space of being afraid of revealing my self-will, or afraid of asking her to own her own value. And all of a sudden, I'm like, so I've said my numbers, and she's like, oh, that sounds great. I was like, okay, well, we're gonna have to have that meeting with your husband. Long story shorter, sorry guys, and also thank you. Um, I get off the phone call and I didn't even know the total amount of what I had quoted. I was so fucking not worried about money that I took out a calculator and I was like, wait, so what did I just ask her for? And I was like, oh my God, I asked her for over $5,000. That's crazy. And she had been fine the whole time. She was making the calculation. She's got her pencil and book out, making all these notes. And then we she messages me the next day. Hey, so in that pick your own adventure, I don't want this part, but I want these 3 parts. And my husband and I are so excited about the service that you've already given me, and that we want to show you how much we value your time, and we want to show you how interested we are. We're sending you 50% of the deposit. I hadn't even asked for this. Like, it blew my mind. So I want to share that because that is a total transformation. Like, Neil, it went from like, you're saying, like, how quick can it go? It could be like, I think one way at 11 o'clock in the morning, and by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I am like, wow, I totally think a different way. So, so, so just in conclusion, um, that place where we say, like, if we're ready, like, it's really red light, green light, I think. And I think it just be ready to, like, just be ready to fully reveal it all. And in that act, money is like, it doesn't even matter. It's like an inevitable. It's just like what needs to then happen to make the thing happen. Just just happens.
Yeah, I want to also just, as someone who was there for Layla going through a lot of that stuff, and I think this is a key factor in one of the conversations that Layla and I had, which was Layla. I'm going to just reveal this. Layla likes to do this thing where she says to me exactly what she should say to the client, and then turns around and edits her thoughts when it comes to the client. Because she thinks somehow that what she thinks isn't powerful and direct and exactly what the client needs to hear. But then she stopped doing that. And she started saying exactly to the client exactly what she thought, because she is the person who is having the thoughts. She's being the person who is that leader and is strong, doesn't need to edit her thoughts. The client needed that. And if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the big shifting points that allowed you to just move so much faster, because you had wired yourself to be the person who thinks the thoughts and then says them. There's no gap between who you're being and how you're acting. And then you have faith in all of that, and there's so much power there, because exactly like Will is saying, then when you say the numbers, or like you said the elements of the quote, they're just coming out because they're part of the vision, because you've hardwired into yourself and you're being and acting the way that's connected to that vision, and to that reality that you're living in and you're bringing other people into. So I think that that's a really important thing, is that there's probably in our world a lot of editing of how we think, in hopes of saying the right thing to our clients, our friends, or our family, or whatever it is. And it's a real power sucker. And then we wonder why we're not getting the level of creative power coming out into the world that we envision. And it's literally because we're just not letting it into the world, because we're editing it out. Which I think is the real kind of supercharging aspect of personal development. It's like, as a musician, it's one of those things where, like, you train your musical mind so that the right notes come out. Like, you don't play the instrument and go, oh, that's not the right note. Oh, that's not the right note. Oh, that's not the right note. You go through all that crap and train your brain, so then you just play the right notes, right? And you're not editing yourself on the fly. It's coming out. You're expressing yourself. You're expressing your, like, heart and soul, right? So to me, that's what Layla went through, is that level of personal development, that then realized that fee on a very natural level. So I just want to and we've had lots of conversations about that. Like,
And thanks, Neil. And it's also, I just want to just stress too that it's also the hard wiring into the other person. That's what I really liked about what you said, Will, was that it's not just the hard wiring into the self. It's, and thank you, Neil, because that was crazy. But it's the heart, it's like hard wiring into them. And like, what are they saying? And what are they needing? Or what are they not saying? And like, how can we make that agreement be something that's hardwired into them too?
yeah, the creating that like trust for them to really speak freely. Will.
I loved listening to that, Layla. Thank you for sharing. And you've pointed in the direction of two really awesome things. You said either you or the woman called you back the following day and said you've already served us. She spoke about the service you had already given her up front. Service up front. The best of us is not kept behind a paywall. It isn't, oh, we do our and the other thing that is completely connected to that is the discovery call or the and I have seen people very much limit it to, people get a 20-minute discovery call with me, and that's the thing. And in their mind, that's a purely business driven. I don't want my lead times to be too long. I want to control the lead time, keep it as quick as possible. Effectively, they want to get them behind the paywall ASAP. And what this circle and the people we know, what from day one I've seen pointed to is like client enrollment is not a linear process, and it isn't do not apply a cost benefit analysis to your lead times. Nurture that ecosystem, nurture the relationship, take the time, and don't keep anything behind the paywall. Give them the experience, not the concept, not 20 minutes of you'll get this and this and this and this if you work with me. Oh, 20 minutes is up. Are you going to pay me or not? It's like, well, I don't know about that. And it makes me think, like, and I'm sure that this isn't, it worked with me in terms of how Nick enrolled me 3 and a bit years ago. And I'm not saying that this has been the same for every client. There will be times where he put this much service up front and time in with other people, and they haven't worked with him for as long as I have. But I think it's proof to show we had 5 one-to-one conversations before I signed up for my first domino. I remember many of them running over an hour. One of them ran over 2 hours. So it must be close to 10 hours of, and even 3 years ago, it was high grade coaching that I got before I went, okay, I'm going to do my first domino. But by the time we'd got there, we had what you just said, the plug fit. Is that right? Now we have met in the middle, and he was patient, never rushed, in service, gave me the best he had for free up front. And by the time I went, I've got 500 quid spare. Let's do this domino. Go on then. We were there. We met in the middle. I think I've probably paid him over 20 grand in the last 3 years. So it goes to show like it there's a shelf life. That's to use a really business term. It's not something I would want to apply to people. But if we're thinking of like, okay, how long does a relationship last? It's worth putting in that time at the beginning, I think. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
I love that. And Leia, just to point out another thing for Leia, like, aren't you're starting to get some other people who want to have their second baby now and everything like that too, right? Like, so you got like multiple Um,
Lifetime relationships.
yeah,
And then the little babies are turning 3 and 4, and I'm like, what? Yeah, that's a whole
yeah,
nother.
that's amazing. Yeah, this is really, I think this is, and I just also want to emphasize like, um, this is great coaching stuff, but this is also great stuff that are like lifestyle services. Like um, I just want to highlight because I'm also fascinated with this too. Manoj, like being in the financial sector, like I just wondering, I just want to pick on you for a sec. I wonder how you perceive this stuff for yourself with your types of clients, because a lot of them are, say, lifetime clients too, like people who do life insurance programs, and having people understand how the service is useful for them and sorting through all the data, and like it can be really boring kind of like to talk to a financial advisor. So I just wondering how this stuff transmutes for you, and if you see it as useful in making a more connected relationship with your clients and getting that kind of enrollment from them.
100%. Hello, everyone. Excited to be here. Thank you, Neil, for hosting. I was in anticipation for this call, so I'm super excited to be here. And already wrote so many notes. I don't know if you guys can see. No, blurred background. That's okay. But all your sharings is just phenomenal, and I've wrote down keywords, key ideas, and I'm just really, really jacked. But appreciate you prompting me, Neil. Absolutely. What I think the biggest theme is when when I'm out in the marketplace, or when I'm having conversations or relationships, or connecting, networking, and so forth. It seems that individuals have a certain idea about finance, about investing, about whatever their idea or whatever their perspective in on it. And what I find, and I'm finding more and more and more, especially as I'm developing myself, and by the way, I want to highlight New Year's. One of my New Year's strategy is having a personal coach outside of my company and financial business, which is just completely elevated clarity for myself and for the business, and literally relationships, everything, family. It's just like it's an earthquake beyond earth. It's like a tsunami effect. I'm just like part of my genuine and purpose and clarity behind it. So I'm just really, really grateful to Neil and to this Prosperous coaching as well. It's just another added benefactor to my mission to help more and more individuals and families moving forward. So it's so funny they the value that I bring, and knowing what I bring to the table. I feel Layla touching upon the green light space. It's just so profound, by the way. That picture, I literally saved it on my computer, saved it on my phone. Anytime I know I'm gonna have conversations and talk to people about green light, red light space, and like, hey, where are you coming from, right? And where do you want to come from, right? And just that clarity is just phenomenal, man. It's just groundbreaking. Um, and so I find myself, as I develop programs for myself, as far as waking up a little bit earlier, as far as reading more, Neil, thank you for encouraging me, as far as working out, getting in the best shape of my life, and all these things that are falling into place, as Will mentioned, dominoes. I love that. um I find the value that I bring. And then as I talk to a network and hear these conversations and perspectives about people having on finance and their belief systems and their energies and their emotions, and the perspectives, it's just It's wild. It's totally wild. I just get so many, any individual just comes at different places, different views, and it's just, and the beautiful thing about what I do is, because I know my worth and my value and what I bring, and hearing and then shifting right through that conversation. And then I actually want to take about one last thing. I want to take it back to what Will mentioned about being at a pub and having, hey, a pop-up coaching moment just came up. Now, how do you move that right into now your value and a professional setting, and to now step into basically bringing value, like helping the individual, and bringing them into a professional environment will help them significantly. And so that's why we're on this mission of helping right through coaching. And so how do we move that when it's kind of out of context? So how do we move that into a professional context, right? And I face that every single day, and part of my developing skills as I in the field, so to speak, and helping people is, how do I bring them value and move them into a professional space where they can get the most value, right? And then, of course, and as a coach and as an advisor, as a broker, I get massive value as well. But it's all about bringing the value, as Layla mentioned, and mentioned a key example of bringing that value first, and seeing it, and to now shifting it, and not so much the pro bono, right? And to really step into our value, and to even give more value, and shifting to professional context and environment. So thank you for listening, guys. That was my little bit on that.
Love it. I love it, especially because it's like, and one of the reasons why I focused on you, Manoj, was just because, to me, finance. I've talked about finance, like we're talking about money, right? In this conversation, a lot of what we're talking about is money, and a lot of what we're talking about is value and exchange, which is a very important element of money. But like a step further along that journey is then what you do with your money once you have it. And that's Manoj's whole world. Like most people are struggling to get to the how do I value myself and get money stage. How do I survive, right? And pay my bills. That's the major thing for most people, let alone most business owners. Then getting to a point of, how do I manage my own money? And then getting to a point where, how do I use this money to invest it so that I like profit off of my money, right? So it's and to get to that level is a series of personal transformations, like Manoj is talking about, this level of emotion that people, and belief systems that people bring into it, right? So I just wanted to point at that, how you can go from pro bono all the way to powerfully investing in yourself through the money that you've made, so that you have a passive income, because that's where you really begin to generate true wealth in your life. And that's a difficult step because there's a certain risk involved with it, right? There's did you have something you wanted to say about that, Manoj? Just, and then I'm going to read this actually. So if you have something quick you want to say, and then I'm actually going to read the chapter.
Yeah, you touched upon it. What, in getting in the process of managing the money is, it's when people get money, it's their perspective, and there's so many touch points on that, but as far as what their limiting beliefs and everything. So it's more, what I find is more shifting people's mindset and emotion before anything else. So it's about coaching and the personal development aspect of it. Then everything else falls into place. Numbers are numbers. And profits are profits, and how you're going to deal with that and all that. But at the end of the day, it's how are you managing yourself? how are you regulating this and the heart, right? That's the number one thing, and that's why I'm just like so jacked and plugging into here and having a coach and trying different strategies and really growing myself and then bringing it and helping others to grow themselves.
I love it. I love it. That's great. It's fantastic. Okay, so you managed to talk about the chapter without reading the chapter for an entire hour. I love this group. It's just so power packed with experiences and gold. So much wisdom here. So much wisdom and also vulnerability and visibility and courage, which I really loved. Even to just be in the room and soaking up what's being said. I'm sure, for me at least, it touches on many points in myself that I'm working on or have worked on. So yeah. So stop being a pro bono bonehead. This one's by Steve Chandler. So, too many coaches tell me that they spend a lot of their time helping their friends with their problems. They smile and say that's why they became coaches, because they're so good at that. But why are you happy helping people who are not paying you? I would look at that. Because you could be helping people who are paying you. And when you do that, both parties benefit more than when you give away all this free help. I like how he says free help too, which is different than support or transformation. Free advice, which again is not coaching, is usually taken with a grain of salt, but a paid session can change someone's life forever. There is a profound difference in the listening a paid customer brings to a professional session compared to the listening they bring to a chat with a really nice person I know. You help the world more if you do your altruistic work after your coaching practice and income are over the moon. That's the time to start giving yourself away pro bono when you choose to. For now, remember to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before trying to fit it over the mouths of others. If you were working for an employer in a 9-to-5 job, the employer would not give you time off real work for you to help others. You'd have to do that after your professional work was complete. One of the biggest problems coaches have is not bringing the same professional work ethic to their coaching practices that they would to a real job. Once a coach wakes up to that, she is back on track towards prosperity. And there's one thing I want to really underline this, because I know this very well in my own work with my own coach. There's a profound difference in the listening a paid customer brings to a professional session compared to the listening they bring to a chat with a really nice person I know. And there's an edge to this too, and I think there's an important edge to this question, and it's one that I have been toying with a lot. Layla knows this because I've been talking about it over and over again. And that is the true edge. This is in terms of coaching, but it's true, I think, in all industries. The true edge that makes your client sit up and start listening to you. Because there's a big difference between what you set your fee at and what will make the client actually sit up and start listening and doing the work. It's very easy. Like, say you charge someone $50 an hour and they go, okay, sweet, $50 an hour. That's not a problem. I can pay $50 an hour and not do any of the work and feel good about the fact that I have a coach. And they won't actually do the work and they won't actually listen to you. They'll just show up to the sessions and feel good about the fact that they have a coach. I'm doing the work, and I know because I'm paying $50 an hour for it. That's way different than when someone, say, pays $200 for an hour and they're a little bit stressed out about whether the sessions are going the way they want it to go or not. And I know that for myself because I've approached my coach, even just the last time I talked to Nick, I said, and we've done this a few times now in the coaching sessions where I've been like, I need to change this environment. I need to recreate myself in this situation. I need to recreate you. I need to show up differently. I'm not getting enough out of these sessions. Somehow I'm not bringing enough of me here and I'm hiding. And this is costing me too much money to hide. So I'm going to just point this out to you, my coach, and I need your help to stop me from hiding so I can continue this transformational journey, because somehow the edge is dulled and I need that sharpened again so I can get more transformation. And that was a really good conversation, because then we figured out and revamped the sessions and found ways to make a tangible shift for me, and I had new homework and new ideas and new ways to go about things. If the session had only cost me $50, the type of person I am, I can burn $50. I could burn $50 at the bar. I could burn $50 at a restaurant. You know what I mean? I could lose $50. I'd be unhappy, but it wouldn't be a significant reason to shift my life. So there's this tenuous balance between your self-belief and what you think you're worth, and then what the client actually needs in order to change. And the client is in the session with you. They believe you have the transformative ability that's necessary for them to change, right? So there's some kind of little edge there. And I really just want to point that out. This is my own belief, because I've seen it, and I've seen it with clients. And I've actually seen clients know their edge, confess their edge to me, and then run away from their edge. Not want to pay the amount of money that they know they need to pay in order for them to sit up straight and listen to what is happening in the session. Because they don't actually want the transformation as much as they think they do. But they're willing to pay less than that so that they're in a session thinking that they're transforming. Or even in the session feeling like they're pushing their coach around, and it's giving them a chance to say, this guy's not good enough, or the information I'm getting out of this isn't good enough. If they were a better coach, I would get more out of it, but I can't find a better coach, or something like that. They're able to tell themselves some type of story because it doesn't cost enough for them to get rid of that story. So it's a weird balance between who you think you are, who they think you are, who they think they are, and what they really need to be the person that they want to be. Hopefully that makes sense. So I just wanted to point that out in what's being said there, because if you do pro bono work, or if you charge less than is necessary, you don't get to that place that Layla was talking about where you really are green light about how valuable this session is. Then they're going to just consider you, even if you're a coach, a chat with a really nice person. It's like a lawyer. If you go to a lawyer and they charge you $700 an hour, you're going to be like, this is probably a good lawyer, and I better make sure I get everything necessary to utilize that time. If it's a $200 an hour lawyer, they might go, I won't do as much work because it doesn't really matter too much. So that's I'm just going to show that again. So, and I think that this is true in every profession. So just exchange whatever words you need to exchange to hear this in your industry. There's a profound difference in the listening a paid customer brings to a professional setting, a profound difference in the listening compared to the listening they bring to a chat with a really nice person I know. And that could be a chat, that could be a performance by a nice small town musician, or you know what I mean? Or a chat with a financial advisor that only takes a 5% commission, or whatever it happens to be, you know what I mean? That's so I wanted to really point that one out. One other thing, does anyone have anything to say about that? Have you noticed that in your own kind of world, or?
Okay.
Kate, nice to hear from you.
Good to be here. I'm listening to it all, and I'm thinking about the word of value. And we have no way of knowing how somebody else will value the experience because it's so subjective. Is that the right word? So what I think might be valuable for them might not be what they would perceive as valuable. So, and the reason I'm on this call is because I was due to be speaking in an enrollment call. So it's like fresh on my mind, and I've got my, my Nick Bettini special questions. And it's very much focusing around that. And encouraging the person to explore what the experience will be, what will be different for them, what will be significant for them, what will be the impact of them having this significant change in their life that they want. And then to ask them, what will be the value of that to you? And quite often people will go, God, that'd be worth millions. And I've got a little example if it's okay to share. And my mum has just had a new knee, and part of that is the knee cost a lot of money because in the UK we don't normally go private, but she wanted a new knee quickly, so thousands of pounds, and she was very worried. I mean, what's that new knee going to be worth to you, mum? And she's skipping around like Bambi now. So you couldn't really put a price on that, could you? Um, and then we've had all the bathroom changed for her because we've had the bath taken out and a shower put in, and that's another 5 grand. She's like, oh, 5 grand. And then the first time she walked into the shower with her new knee, what price that smile? So the value of that to her is way beyond the money that she's paid for it. So understanding, and the value for me to have a new shower tray put in would be neither here nor there, but the value for her is huge. So it's really understanding and taking that time. Somebody was saying at the very beginning about, I think it was Will, this isn't a 20-minute discovery call to discover if she wants a new shower or not. This is what's life going to be like for you if you make this change so that you really understand their value. And I'm thinking, I know I can be in service to them, but I have no idea until I take the time to listen what it is they want and where the value is for them, and for them to then recognize, if I get from this island over to this island, my life is going to change in all these ways. How would I ever put a price on that?
I love that, Kate. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And it makes me think of Steve Hardison where he's in this one session. I think he's with Michael, I can't remember his last name now, but where he talks about the guy's like, that one piece of information was worth the whole $200,000. And then Steve Hardison gives him like two or three other like insights. He's like, this is another one that's worth the whole 200,000. This one too. And then Steve Hardison says, he's like, yeah, I'm cheap. It's like, but I'm a really good value. Like, it was like, because they calculated up in the session, there was like over $1 million worth of considered advice to him if he was to look at. So he's like, this one session was worth $1 million, and you're gonna get 50 of these sessions for $200,000. So when you look at it from that perspective, right, and then like you're saying, the untold impact that's gonna spread. And I love how you put it into those words, because the Steve Hardison thing came into my mind, and a thing that constantly happens in my mind is the sale happens in their mind. Like that's where the enrollment occurs. So no matter what you put at them, that's not how the sale occurs. The sale occurs through an enlightened vision in their mind where they see, that's why this is valuable to me, and that's what I get out of what you're saying. And I loved how you you used asking them that, like, how would this be valuable for you? How would you see this as significant for you going forward? I love that. Will.
Yeah, just a quick one. Yeah, Kate, we spoke the other day, and you told me about the knee surgery and the shower. And I love those examples because it shows that the value isn't in the number, it's in the mind. It's a thought. And then Neil, you just jumped on that as well with like the sale happens in their world. It's in their minds. Like what value are you seeing? How are you creating this? And the best bit about coaching is you can coach someone through the enrollment process. It's not like, oh, and now we're entering the sales conversation. It's like, no, this is all the coaching. You're helping them reflect, you're helping them notice. Like notice the impact, notice the value. Not pushing their face in it, but the same way we would with anything is, have you looked in that direction? There's something over there. It's like, oh shit, yeah, that's cool. And then the second thing you said there, Kate, the value of having a stand-up shower, being able to move, I would imagine free of pain and with a greater ease is worth so much more than the outcome is worth so much more than the money paid. And that's one consistent thing I see in sustainable businesses. A lot of businesses go under in the first 2 to 3 years, let's say. And then the businesses that go 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and they keep going and keep growing and the teams expand. It's like, right, at every level of their price points, whatever they're selling, whatever the service or the product, etc., the value experienced is always greater than the money paid. And the extreme example of that is, Steve Hardison, where $200,000 again, in my experience, in my mind, looking at that, it's like I've never spent that, never seen that in a bank account, never, like, for now, but I can't imagine spending that much money. So for me, the experience is that's a lot. But even at that level, there's a value being experienced that exceeds that as well. So it's all in the mind, not in the number. So I love that.
I really like how you pointed that out, Will, too, and also kind of how it's exponential. Like a guy, you're like, wow, $200,000 is a lot of money to pay for that. And then the guy's like, and I got $1 million worth of value out of that one conversation. Like, wow, that's because they're usually, especially with Hardison, CEOs or people who run charities, or there's some large project that's happening that requires coaching around the project, coaching around the people, coaching around the personal development. So they're going from hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars, or from millions of dollars to hundreds of millions of dollars. Like in terms of output, in terms of investment return, it's crazy to see that. Like maybe a conversation I would have with someone at this moment in time that's worth $100 is going to see them $1,000, maybe. You know what I mean? And then to see like that exponential difference as the price point increases, and so does the value. And people also fly to Steve Hardison. So there's a certain demand on him as a coach. Like they're demanding through the process that they're going through for an environment to see that level of value. So I think is another thing that's really something that I'm trying to help my clients understand, is that they can make demands on me as a coach, and that those demands help me to have a better idea of what they need. If they don't say, hey, I need this, or like, or like, this isn't working, or this isn't enough, or, you know what I mean? And people have said that to Steve. That kind of, that type of it's like if you have a community of people, say like to use it as a marketing kind of thing or like a selling a product kind of thing. The way that a market typically works is that you want demand to, once demand outstrips production, the price point goes up. So you're like the culture of people that want your product by their sheer desire to have what you have, it becomes more valuable. Right? So they're placing a demand on your company. They're like, how come there's not enough boxes of Cheerios in the supermarket? You know what I mean? Right? Or like, how come you can't come and fix my plumbing? Like I needed it to happen tomorrow. Like, so they're placing a demand on you and on your business, which then shifts the behavior of your business. Okay? Which I think is sometimes maybe not pointed out. It's like what's happening with Nick. There's a bigger demand on Domino. There's a bigger demand amongst the people in Domino. More and more people of excellence are joining the program, and they're demanding of him more and more excellent things out of the program. Okay? Layla.
And just to like bring this, like, I love how in all of the Hummingbird Society, Neil, and all that you've been trying to do, it's always been also about the prosperous person, like not just the way that these things go and funnel through our businesses, but also like what happens in personal relationships and stuff like that. And I really feel like what you just said there about like the demand and how then the behavior of the business shifts. I think that's like completely like you can just put that right into the personal realm of relationship. Like if you're coming at, let's use just this red light, green light thing because it's easy right now. So if you're coming at a relationship where both people are green lighting each other and and the value that you're bringing and the value that they're bringing is always outweighing, like what you were saying, Kate, like it's almost intangible, the kind of value that they're going to get because of the good and the sheer amount of green light energy that you're putting into a relationship. That the more you do that with all the people that you speak with, the actual demand for that of you has you grow. Like you become asked to be, you become bigger, and you just become like it's infinite, the kind of the behavioral transformation and growth that you go through because of how you're being and the demand that then comes at you to be that way. So just to love on, like, this is all also applicable just to be the prosperous person, not just, not just our businesses.
Really, totally. I would even go so far as to say like that reminds me of your kids. You know what I mean? The more that you're like make your kids powerful, strong, visionary leaders because you've displayed powerful, strong, visionary leader abilities, the more they're gonna want that from you so that they can be bigger, stronger, more powerful leaders. Like you've shown me how to be a leader so far, so show me how to be a better leader because I'm finding myself in situations where I need to lead even more, and you showed me how. So show me more, give me more. You know what I mean? And that's a big thing. And when you kind of accept that as a parent or as a leader or whatever in any situation, and go like, that's actually that actually is demanding that I power up and strengthen up and be sturdier and create more and be more abundant because of the demand, rather than buckling to the demand and saying, like, we can't do this, we can't do any more than this. This is production is at max, like, like because there's like levels of poverty mindset, right? And it's like if you break through that level of poverty mindset and say, no, I'm gonna go to the gym more. I'm gonna tighten up my time. I'm gonna strategize. I'm gonna read more. I'm gonna find the time because these demands are being placed on me and they're helping me grow, like you're saying, then yeah, you begin to perform at a very high level, at like championship global style level, even just in your family relationship. You become part of the small percentage of people who are operating at a super high level in all your sectors of life because you're willing to take on that demand and let it shift your behavior. So I love how you pointed that out. It's a huge prosperous person element. Fantastic. Well, we hit right at 12:30. You guys are killer. I'm so happy to be back here and doing this. Just before we jump off this call, I'm going to put this in an email as well. One thing that's been Layla pointed out to me, and one thing that Manoj pointed out to me. So I think in an earlier like iteration of Hummingbird, I asked that you let me know about people who want to come into Hummingbird and like kind of like send them to me. But I'm gonna dissolve that gate. So I would love if you have people that you would like to bring into this group, into the society, into the calls, onto the email, whatever it is. Please just invite them of your own accord. Consider that the Hummingbird Society is your society. Okay, so however you create that in your life and you would like to spread that in your life, please feel free to do that. You have full authorship in that sense. The other thing I wanted to say is that yeah, share the email. Like share the email with people, share the calls with people, invite people to it, give them the registration, do whatever you feel is necessary to do to make it feel like it's yours. Don't think that you're inviting this into Neil's thing. Yes, I facilitate a lot of the time. That doesn't always have to be the way it is either. If you want to facilitate, that's another thing. And that leads me into my other thing, what Manoj had pointed out to me, and something I've been also trying to curate, which is next week I have a recording session on Wednesday, and I'm very much interested in someone else facilitating the call. Layla will be with me, so I don't know if she can really, because it'll be like, yeah. So I would love for someone to step up and run the call. That way, when I'm not around and I can't do this, it's still happening, and it's happening because it's your society. It's not just my society, okay? So the more that we build it out together and people take up authorship and step into lead, the bigger it's going to get and the more powerful the impact, okay? And you can use it to represent yourself. Never think that you can't use this to represent yourself. So I'm also cutting up video of things that people have to say. So if I send you something and you like it, please use it. Use this as a way to magnify your wisdom and insight, because it's there. And I can't say that enough, okay? So if I chop something up and you like it, please use it, and please consider it something that you're using because the Hummingbird Society is yours, because the wisdom is yours, and because it's something that you can utilize to show the world actual proof of your wisdom. Okay? And insight, knowledge, and all that kind of stuff. So please just, and I'm going to send out an email to this too, but please, I would request that someone take up the facilitating of the next call. I would love if it's someone who hasn't done it before. Aiden, if you're around and you could do it, or Philip, if you're around, I'm looking at you guys. Will, like, if you've already facilitated calls, so you're like a professional, I'd love for you to step in.
So I coach someone every other week
Okay.
at the same time, and they're on next week. Otherwise, my hand would have shot up. I'd have, sorry that I can't help this time. I would like to make more of these calls. There's an intention there. So keep that dialogue open. Don't be afraid to drop a message and yeah, I'm declaring interest in helping with that.
Perfect. Perfect. That's great. Philip, you have something you want to say too?
The thought of leading the call absolutely terrifies me, and based on that, I think I should do it.
Nice. Okay. We have That's the best. That's the best. What a fucking courageous man. That's what I like to see.
I'll
Okay.
show up to support you on that.
Yes.
Cool.
Perfect. That's even better. That's what like just as a thing, that's what Will and I had to do. Nick threw a domino at us and we had to co-create together. We had a call beforehand and just were like, what are we gonna do? Um And that was, the hummingbird came out of this, out of me being like, we can do this. And Will also runs a book club too. The other thing I would like to really stress in this is that if you're running something like Will is running a book club, I personally love cross pollination. So jump into other people's book clubs. You know what I mean? Or watch the video, comment on them, support the other people in the society because it's going to create momentum. People will see you commenting and they'll become interested. And it's a reflection of you and a reflection of the people who are facilitating the calls. I had a conversation with Nick about about just the idea of a badge system, like that you have that is not a real actual thing, but people will see that if you're in a hummingbird call, you're in a domino call, you're in one of Will's book club call. See you later, Layla. People will start to see you in these different places and trust you. So if you run a business or have a service, they might start coming to you and wanting to know more about what you do because they see how you show up and how you support and how you facilitate. So just some food for thought. All right. Thanks, guys. Oh, you have something you want to say, Will? Yeah.
Just wanted to quickly jump in. With thank you for mentioning the Crazy Good Book Club. The way I created it, just to clarify, was as an 8 space kind of thing, as opposed to an open door thing. It has since crossed my mind. I got inspired by Nick doing the open Project Domino calls, which he didn't used to do a couple of years ago. Now he's got two either side of Domino. So I'm playing around with an idea there. So I will let you all know. The replays are available in the public domain on YouTube. So would you be happy for me to post that playlist link in the Hummingbird Society?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Please post anything in the Hummingbird Society. Like everything is go except for basically being like, "Hi, I'm a coach and I charge money. Would you like that's the only thing I would like to just stay let the people come to you for that, right? But I love the playlists, anything like that, okay? So please consider that to be super useful to the members of the Hummingbird Society. Like you never know how that's going to change someone's life. So
Thank you.
yeah. Okay, great. You guys have an awesome day and I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, Neil.
I'll talk to
Thank
you, Philip, more about Wednesday.
We'll be in touch. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Have a good one.